Keep an eye out for the golden star that will appear on screen during the video. If you spot it, comment the time frame you saw it in. Get it right, and you'll get a shout out in our next video. Happy hunting! The city of Aquatopia thrived in its serene, otherworldly beauty. Nestled deep beneath the ocean's surface, it shimmered like a vast bioluminescent jewel. The streets were alive with the glow of bioluminescent algae, casting a soft, ethereal light that danced through the transparent tunnels winding through the metropolis. Schools of vibrant fish swam lazily by, unperturbed by the bustling life within the city. The air, filled with the scent of salt and seaweed, was fresh and cool, a perfect blend of nature and technology. Mira Thalass strode purposefully through the main corridor, her thoughts occupied with the day's tasks. As a marine biologist, she was dedicated to understanding and protecting the ocean's delicate ecosystems. Today, her research focused on a new strain of bioluminescent algae that showed promise for sustainable energy production. She entered her lab, a state-of-the-art facility filled with tanks, holographic displays, and intricate monitoring equipment. "Morning, Mira," called out Lila, her lab assistant, from behind a console. "Morning, Lila. How are the new samples looking?" Mira asked, already pulling up data on her own screen. "They're stable so far, but we need to run more tests to be sure." Mira nodded, diving into her work with intense focus. Hours passed in a blur of data analysis and experimentation. She was engrossed in a particularly perplexing set of results when the city's warning sirens blared to life, a sound that had not echoed through Aquatopia in years. Her heart raced. "What's going on?" she thought, pushing aside her work and rushing to the nearest communication panel. The screen flickered to life, showing the anxious face of Chief Engineer Taro. "Mira, we have a situation. There's been an explosion at the central power hub," Taro said, his voice steady but strained. "An explosion? How is that possible?" Mira asked, her mind reeling with the implications. The power hub was the heart of Aquatopia, providing energy and life support to the entire city. "We don't know yet. We need all hands on deck. Can you get to the hub and help with the damage assessment?" "I'm on my way," she replied without hesitation, grabbing her emergency kit and sprinting out of the lab. The corridors of Aquatopia were a flurry of activity, with citizens and officials moving swiftly, their faces etched with concern. Mira navigated through the chaos, her thoughts racing. Who could have done this? And why? She reached the central power hub, a towering structure pulsating with energy. Or it had been. Now, parts of it were dark, flickering sporadically. Engineers and scientists were already on site, working frantically to contain the damage. "Taro!" Mira called out, spotting the chief engineer coordinating efforts near a shattered control panel. "Mira, thank goodness you're here," Taro said, wiping sweat from his brow. "We need to stabilize the reactors before they overload. Can you handle the secondary coolant systems?" "On it," she said, moving swiftly to the control station. The console was sparking, its display cracked, but still functional. Mira's fingers flew over the controls, rerouting power and engaging emergency protocols. She could feel the tension in the air, the palpable fear that this was more than just an accident. As she worked, Mira couldn't help but notice the strange scorch marks on the walls, the precise nature of the damage. "Saboteur," she thought, a chill running through her. "Someone did this on purpose." "Mira, we've got another issue." Taro's voice broke through her thoughts. "The main coolant valve isn't responding. We need to manually override it, but it's in the lower substation. It's risky." "I'll go," Mira said immediately. "I know the system best." "Be careful," Taro warned. "The structure is unstable." Mira nodded and grabbed her toolkit, making her way to the substation. The corridors here were darker, filled with the ominous hum of malfunctioning machinery. She navigated carefully, her every sense on high alert. Reaching the valve, she assessed the situation quickly, The manual override was jammed, the damage more severe than she had anticipated. "All right, Mira, you can do this," she murmured to herself, beginning the delicate process of realignment and repair. Sparks flew, and the ground trembled beneath her feet, but she worked with unwavering determination. Finally, the valve clicked into place, and the coolant systems roared back to life. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. An alarm sounded, signaling another breach in the system. Mira's eyes widened. This was far from over. Saboteur. It has to be. She thought again, her mind racing. But who would want to destroy Aquatopia? As she made her way back to the central hub, her resolve hardened. Whoever was behind this had made a grave mistake. She would uncover the truth and protect her home, no matter the cost. The city's survival depended on it. In the chaos of the emergency, a shadow moved unnoticed through the tunnels, watching. Waiting. The real battle for Aquatopia was just beginning. Mira sprinted through the flickering corridors of Aquatopia, her heart pounding. The initial explosion had left a trail of destruction, but the immediate threat had been neutralized, for now. The city's intricate network of tunnels, usually a haven of calm, was now a scene of chaos. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows, and the constant hum of malfunctioning machinery added to the urgency of the situation. She reached the central control room, where Taro was issuing rapid commands to the team of engineers and scientists. "We've got multiple breaches in the power grid," he barked, his face grim. "If we don't stabilize the core, the entire city could go dark." Mira joined him, her mind racing with possibilities. "What's the status of the secondary systems?" she asked, pulling up schematics on a cracked console. "Struggling," Taro replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. "The explosion caused a cascading failure. We need to reroute power manually, but the controls are jammed." Mira's fingers flew over the controls, her eyes narrowing in concentration. "We can bypass the damaged circuits through the auxiliary grid," she said. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." As she worked, the floor beneath them trembled, a harsh reminder of the unstable structure. Mira glanced at Taro. "We're running out of time. Can you handle the main override while I stabilize the coolant system?" Taro nodded, already moving towards the central control panel. "Be careful, Mira," he called over his shoulder. "We can't afford to lose you." Mira made her way to the coolant system, her mind a whirlwind of calculations. The main coolant valve was crucial to preventing an overheating catastrophe. She reached the substation, only to find it in worse shape than she had feared. The valve was jammed, and the surrounding area was littered with debris. She knelt down, her hands working swiftly to clear the blockage. "Focus, Mira," she told herself. "You can do this." Sparks flew as she manipulated the valve, her every muscle tense with the effort. Finally, with a groan of metal, the valve shifted into place. The coolant system roared to life, but the relief was short-lived. An alarm blared, indicating another breach. Mira's eyes widened. "This is no accident," she thought, a sense of dread settling in. "Someone is orchestrating this." She grabbed her toolkit and dashed back towards the central hub. The corridors seemed longer now, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. As she rounded a corner, she spotted a figure darting through the shadows, moving with purpose. "Stop!" Mira shouted, but the figure disappeared into the darkness. Her pulse quickened. "Who are they? What are they planning?" Reaching the central hub, she found Taro hunched over the controls, his face pale. "Mira, we've got a bigger problem," he said, his voice strained. "The core is overheating. If we don't vent the pressure, it's going to blow." Mira's mind raced. "We need to manually release the pressure valves. I'll take the east sector, you handle the west." Taro nodded, and they split up. Mira moved swiftly through the labyrinthine tunnels, her every step echoing with urgency. She reached the east sector valve, her hands working with practiced precision. As she pulled the lever, a violent tremor shook the ground, nearly knocking her off her feet. "This is getting worse by the minute," she thought, her resolve hardening. "I need to find out who's behind this." The pressure valve released with a hiss, stabilizing the core temperature. Mira let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. She hurried back to the central hub, where Taro was waiting, his expression grim but determined. "Core temperature is dropping," he reported. "We've bought ourselves some time, but we need to find out who's behind this sabotage." Mira nodded, her mind already formulating a plan. "We need to check the security footage," she said. "Whoever did this must have left a trail." As they worked to access the security feeds, Mira's thoughts were a storm of questions. Who would want to destroy Aquatopia? And why now? The answers, she knew, lay hidden in the depths of the city's secrets. The security footage flickered to life, showing a shadowy figure moving through the corridors, planting devices. Mira's eyes narrowed. "There," she said, pointing to the screen. "We've got a lead." Taro looked at her, his eyes filled with determination. "Let's catch this saboteur." Together they set off, the weight of Aquatopia's future resting heavily on their shoulders. The real battle for the city had just begun, and Mira was determined to protect her home at any cost. Mira and Taro moved swiftly through the dimly lit tunnels of Aquatopia, their footsteps echoing in the tense silence. The security footage had given them a lead, a shadowy figure, masked and cloaked, moving with clear intent. Every corner they turned felt like it could hide another trap or lead to another explosion. Mira's thoughts were a whirlwind of possibilities and dangers. "Taro, we need to stay sharp. Whoever this is, they're well prepared and dangerous," Mira said, her voice steady but urgent. "Agreed. Keep your eyes open for anything unusual," Taro responded, his hand hovering near his sidearm. They reached a junction where the figure had last been seen. Mira scanned the area, her eyes darting over the shadows and half-lit corners. "There," she whispered, pointing to a hatch slightly ajar. "Looks like our saboteur might have gone through there." Carefully, they approached the hatch, Mira leading the way. She pushed it open slowly, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel filled with pipes and conduits. The faint glow of emergency lights cast long shadows, creating an eerie atmosphere. Mira's heart pounded in her chest as they ventured deeper into the tunnel. Suddenly, a noise echoed from up ahead, a metallic clang followed by hurried footsteps. "Go!" Mira whispered, and they broke into a run, pursuing the elusive figure. The tunnel twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the bowels of Aquatopia. The sound of their quarry grew louder until they burst into a large maintenance chamber. The figure stood at the far end, frantically working to set another explosive device. "Stop right there!" Mira shouted, raising her stun gun. The figure froze for a split second before making a desperate dash towards an exit. Taro was faster. He lunged forward, tackling the saboteur to the ground. The two struggled, but Taro's strength won out. Mira rushed over, helping to restrain the figure and secure the device. With the immediate danger averted, she turned her attention to their captive. "Who are you?" Mira demanded, pulling off the figure's mask to reveal a young woman, her eyes filled with defiance. "You'll never stop us," the woman spat, her voice filled with venom. "Aquatopia's time has come." Mira's mind raced. "Who is us? What are you trying to achieve?" The woman laughed, a chilling sound in the confined space. "You think this is just about explosions? This is about revolution. Aquatopia's technology has poisoned the ocean, and we're here to cleanse it." Taro tightened his grip on the woman. "You're destroying lives. This isn't cleansing, it's terrorism. Call it what you want. The reckoning is here, and you can't stop it," she retorted, her eyes burning with conviction. Mira exchanged a look with Taro. "We need to get her back to the central hub," She might have information that can help us prevent further attacks. As they made their way back, Mira's thoughts were a storm of questions. Who is behind this group? How deep does this conspiracy run? Back at the central hub, they secured the woman in a makeshift holding cell and began to interrogate her. What's your name? Mira asked, trying to establish a connection. Not telling you anything, the woman replied, her lips pressed into a thin line. Mira sighed, turning to Taro. We need to access any data she might have left in the maintenance chamber. There could be clues about their next move. Taro nodded. I'll get a team on it. In the meantime, we need to tighten security and start combing through our own ranks. If there's a conspiracy, there could be more infiltrators. As they worked, the weight of the situation pressed heavily on Mira. Aquatopia's serene beauty was now a battleground, and the stakes were higher than ever. She had to stay focused, to protect her home and uncover the truth behind the sabotage. Hours later, Taro returned with new information. We found a data chip in the maintenance chamber. It's encrypted, but we're working on cracking it. It might give us the names of other operatives or their next targets. Mira's resolve hardened. Good. We need to stay one step ahead. Let's get our best cryptographers on it. Every second counts. As they delved deeper into the mystery, Mira knew one thing for certain. The battle for Aquatopia had only just begun. The city's future hung in the balance, and she was determined to see it through, no matter the cost. Mira's thoughts swirled as she paced the central hub. The young woman they had captured remained tight-lipped, her defiance unyielding. Every passing second felt like a missed opportunity to prevent another attack. The encrypted data chip lay on the table, a tantalizing puzzle that held the key to understanding the conspiracy. Taro, how long until we can decrypt this? Mira asked, her voice tinged with impatience. Taro glanced up from his console. Our cryptographers are working around the clock, but it's sophisticated encryption. Could be hours, could be days. We don't have days, Mira muttered, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. She turned her gaze to the holding cell, where the young woman sat silently, her eyes burning with a quiet intensity. We need answers now. Taro nodded. I agree, but we can't force information out of her. We need a different approach. Mira took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing mind. There must be something we're missing. Some clue in the footage, or maybe in her belongings. She turned back to Taro. Let's review everything again. There has to be a lead. As they sifted through the footage and examined the captured saboteur's gear, a pattern began to emerge. The devices she used were not just randomly placed. They targeted specific systems in Aquatopia, systems crucial to the city's survival. Mira paused, her eyes narrowing. Taro, look at this. Each target is a critical part of our infrastructure, but there's something else. They're all connected to Project Deep Current. Taro's eyes widened. You think this is about Deep Current? It has to be, Mira replied, her mind racing. Deep Current was designed to harness the ocean's currents for sustainable energy. If these saboteurs see it as a threat to their vision of a pure ocean, it makes sense they target it. Before they could delve deeper, an urgent message came through the comms system. Emergency in Sector 7. We've detected unauthorized access. Possible sabotage in progress. Mira and Taro exchanged a look. Let's go, Mira said, grabbing her gear and heading for the exit. They arrived at Sector 7 to find a team of engineers frantically working to contain a breach. The air was thick with tension, and the smell of burning circuits permeated the room. Mira spotted the source of the trouble, a device similar to the one they had disarmed earlier, nestled among the power conduits. Taro, we need to deactivate that device before it triggers a cascade failure, Mira shouted over the din. Taro nodded, already moving towards the device. As he worked, Mira scanned the room, her eyes catching movement in the shadows. Another saboteur. There! She yelled, pointing. Taro didn't hesitate. He drew his stun gun and fired, but the figure darted out of sight, moving with practiced agility. Mira chased after the saboteur, her heart pounding with adrenaline. The narrow corridors twisted and turned, each step bringing her closer to her quarry. Suddenly, the saboteur spun around, throwing a small device towards Mira. She ducked just in time, the device exploding behind her in a shower of sparks. "Persistent, aren't you?" she muttered, pushing forward with renewed determination. The chase led them to a storage bay filled with towering shelves of equipment. The saboteur tried to lose her in the maze of crates and machinery, but Mira was relentless. She closed the distance, tackling the figure to the ground. They struggled, but Mira's training and resolve won out. She pinned the saboteur down, pulling off their mask to reveal a familiar face, one of Aquatopia's own engineers. "Why?" Mira demanded, her voice filled with disbelief. "Why betray us?" The engineer's eyes were cold, devoid of remorse. "You're destroying the ocean with your technology. We're here to save it, no matter the cost." Mira's mind reeled. "There's a better way to protect the ocean than by tearing down everything we've built." The engineer's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You're blind. Aquatopia's technology is a blight. We will cleanse it, starting with deep current." Mira felt a mix of anger and sadness. "You're wrong. We can coexist with the ocean, but not through destruction." She secured the engineer and called for backup. Back at the central hub, the data chip was finally decrypted. The information revealed a network of operatives, their plans centered around dismantling deep current. Mira's resolve hardened. She turned to Taro. "We need to act fast. Secure deep current and identify every operative in this network." Taro nodded. "We'll protect Aquatopia, whatever it takes." As they coordinated their response, Mira knew the battle for Aquatopia was far from over. The conspiracy ran deep, but she was determined to protect her home and prove that technology and nature could coexist. The future of Aquatopia depended on it. The central hub of Aquatopia was a hive of activity. Engineers, security personnel, and scientists moved with purpose, their faces set with determination. Mira and Taro had briefed the team on the decrypted data, and the urgency of their mission to protect Project Deep Current was clear. Every second counted. Mira stood at the center of the operations room, a holographic map of Aquatopia hovering before her. Red markers indicated potential sabotage points, and green markers showed their security response teams. "We need to secure these key locations immediately," she said, addressing the room. "The saboteurs are targeting our critical infrastructure. If they succeed, the entire city could be compromised." Taro stepped forward, his voice firm. "Team Alpha, you're with me. We'll cover the eastern quadrant. Team Bravo, you're with Mira. Secure the western sector. Stay sharp and report any suspicious activity." As the teams dispersed, Mira felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Lila, her lab assistant, eyes filled with concern. "Mira, be careful. This isn't just about protecting the city. It's about survival." Mira nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We'll get through this, Lila. We have to." She grabbed her gear and headed to the western sector with Team Bravo. The corridors of Aquatopia were tense, every sound amplified by the high stakes. Mira's mind raced with the potential threats they faced. "We're up against our own people," she thought. "That makes this even more dangerous." Reaching the first target location, Mira signaled the team to spread out and secure the area. "Check for any signs of tampering," she ordered, scanning the room. Her heart skipped a beat when she noticed a panel slightly ajar. "Over here," she called, approaching the panel cautiously. Inside, she found another explosive device, similar to the ones they had disarmed before. "This is it," she thought, her hands moving swiftly to deactivate it. The seconds felt like hours as she carefully cut the wires, one by one. Finally, the device was disarmed, and she let out a breath of relief. "Good work, team," Mira said, standing up. "But we can't relax yet. There are more targets." As they moved to the next location, a sudden explosion rocked the corridor, throwing them off their feet. Dust and debris filled the air, and Mira's ears rang from the blast. She struggled to her feet, coughing. "Everyone okay?" she called out, her voice strained. A chorus of affirmative responses came through, but Mira's relief was short-lived. From the smoke emerged a group of masked saboteurs, armed and ready. "Ambush!" she shouted, drawing her stun gun. The corridor erupted into chaos as shots were fired and bodies clashed. Mira ducked behind a pillar, returning fire. The saboteurs were relentless, their movements coordinated and precise. "These aren't just any operatives," she thought. "They're trained." Mira's eyes darted around, looking for a way to turn the tide. She spotted a control panel nearby, an idea forming in her mind. "Cover me!" she yelled to her team, sprinting towards the panel. Bullets whizzed past her as she reached the console and began typing furiously. Come on, she muttered, accessing the security systems. With a final keystroke, the automated defenses sprang to life. Turrets descended from the ceiling, targeting the saboteurs and forcing them to retreat. The corridor fell silent, save for the hum of the turrets and the heavy breathing of the team. Mira stood, her heart still pounding. "Everyone okay?" she asked again, and this time, the responses were more confident. Taro's voice crackled through her comms. "Mira, we've secured the eastern quadrant, but we're facing heavy resistance. How's your side?" "Western sector is secure for now," she replied. "But they're getting bolder. We need to regroup and plan our next move." Back at the central hub, the team gathered around the holographic map. Mira's mind raced as they debriefed. The attacks were intensifying, and the saboteurs were growing more desperate. "They're trying to overwhelm us," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "We need to take the fight to them." Taro nodded. "Agreed. We've been reacting to their moves. It's time we went on the offensive." Mira's eyes lit up with determination. "Let's track down their base of operations. If we can take out their command center, we can cut the head off this snake." Lila approached with a tablet. "We've analyzed the data from the captured saboteurs. There's a pattern in their movements. It might lead us to their base." Mira studied the tablet, a sense of clarity washing over her. "This is it," she said. "We've got a lead. Let's move." As they prepared for the mission, Mira couldn't help but think of the young woman they had captured earlier. "We're doing this to protect our home," she reminded herself. "But we need to remember what we're fighting for, a future where technology and nature coexist." The team geared up, their resolve steeled for the battle ahead. The corridors of Aquatopia were silent as they moved towards the enemy's base, a sense of anticipation hanging in the air. The final confrontation was coming, and Mira was ready to face it head-on. The entrance to the saboteurs' base was heavily guarded, but Mira and her team were undeterred. They moved with precision, taking out guards silently and swiftly. As they breached the inner sanctum, they found themselves face to face with the leader of the saboteurs, a figure clad in dark armor, their eyes burning with fanaticism. "This ends now," Mira declared, stepping forward. The leader laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You're too late, Mira. Aquatopia's fall is inevitable. Not if we have anything to say about it," Taro replied, his voice filled with determination. The battle that followed was intense and brutal. Mira's mind raced as she fought, each move calculated and precise. The leader was a formidable opponent, but Mira's resolve was unbreakable. With a final, decisive blow, she disarmed the leader and brought them to the ground. As the dust settled, Mira stood victorious, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The saboteurs' base was secure, their threat neutralized. She turned to her team, a sense of pride swelling within her. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with relief. "Aquatopia is safe." Taro placed a hand on her shoulder. "For now. But we need to stay vigilant. There will always be threats to our home." Mira nodded, her resolve renewed. "We'll be ready. Together, we can protect Aquatopia and build a future where technology and nature thrive side by side." As they made their way back to the central hub, Mira couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. The battle was over, but the war for Aquatopia's future had only just begun. And she was ready to face whatever came next, with her friends and allies by her side. Mira stood in the dimly lit operations room, the holographic map of Aquatopia still displaying the remnants of their recent battle. The saboteurs' base was secure, but the tension in the air was palpable. The threat had been neutralized, but the cost had been high, and the stakes were still incredibly high. Taro's voice brought her back to the present. "Mira, we've identified more potential targets. They're not going to give up easily." Mira nodded, her mind sharp and focused. "We need to anticipate their moves and stay ahead. Let's double our surveillance and reinforce the critical points." Lila approached, her face set with determination. "Mira, I've analyzed the data from the captured saboteur's device. There's a hidden message, coordinates deep within the ocean. It could be their main base." Mira's eyes widened. "Good work, Lila. This could be our chance to end this for good." Taro stepped forward. "We'll need a specialized team for this mission. It's going to be dangerous." "I'm going," Mira said, her voice resolute. "We need to see this through." The team geared up, their resolve steeled for the dangerous mission ahead. The coordinates led to an uncharted part of the ocean, a place shrouded in mystery and danger. As they boarded the submersible, Mira felt a mix of anticipation and determination. The future of Aquatopia rested on their shoulders. The journey through the deep ocean was tense. The submersible's lights cut through the dark water, revealing eerie underwater landscapes. Strange creatures drifted by, their bioluminescence casting an otherworldly glow. As they approached the coordinates, the sensors picked up a large structure hidden beneath the ocean floor. "There it is," Taro said, pointing to the screen. "The entrance to their main base." The team docked the submersible and prepared to enter the base. Mira led the way, her stun gun at the ready. The corridors were dark and narrow, the air filled with the hum of machinery. They moved cautiously, every step bringing them closer to their goal. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire erupted from the shadows. "Ambush!" Mira shouted, diving for cover. The team returned fire, the corridor erupting into chaos. Mira's mind raced as she fired at the attackers. "We need to push forward," she thought. "We can't let them stop us now." The battle was intense, but the team fought with determination and skill. Mira moved with precision, taking out saboteurs one by one. The deeper they went, the more resistance they faced. It was clear they were getting closer to something important. They reached a large chamber, the heart of the base. At its center was a massive control panel, surrounded by armed guards. Mira knew this was it, the control center for the entire operation. "Taro, cover me," Mira said, moving towards the control panel. The guards opened fire, but Taro and the team provided cover, their shots precise and deadly. Mira reached the control panel and began hacking into the system. Come on, she muttered, her fingers flying over the keys. The screen lit up, revealing the entire network of saboteur operations. "I've got it!" Mira shouted. "I'm shutting it down." The guards redoubled their efforts, desperate to stop her. Mira focused, blocking out the chaos around her. She entered the final command, and the system began to shut down. The lights flickered and the machinery ground to a halt. The remaining guards hesitated, their resolve faltering. Taro took advantage of the moment, leading the team in a final assault that secured the chamber. The battle was over. Mira stood up, her breath coming in heavy gasps. The base was neutralized, their operations crippled. She turned to Taro, a smile of relief on her face. "We did it. We stopped them." Taro nodded, his expression one of pride and exhaustion. "We couldn't have done it without you, Mira." As they made their way back to the submersible, Mira felt a sense of accomplishment and hope. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious. Aquatopia was safe, for now. Back at the central hub, the team was met with cheers and applause. They had saved their home and struck a decisive blow against the saboteurs. Mira stood before them, her heart swelling with pride. "We've proven that we can protect our home and our way of life," she said, her voice strong and clear. "But we must remain vigilant. There will always be threats, but together, we can overcome them." The team dispersed, their spirits high. Mira looked out at the bioluminescent beauty of Aquatopia, the city she had fought so hard to protect. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them. With her friends and allies by her side, Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose. The battle for Aquatopia's future was far from over, but she was ready to lead the way, forging a path towards a future where technology and nature could coexist in harmony. Aquatopia was beginning to recover from the recent attacks. The city's citizens were resilient, and life was gradually returning to normal. However, Mira knew that the battle was far from over. The saboteurs had been dealt a significant blow, but their presence still lingered like a dark shadow over the city. Mira stood in the central hub, reviewing the latest intelligence reports. The team had identified more potential threats, and the urgency to act was palpable. She turned to Taro, who was busy coordinating with the security teams. "We need to stay ahead of them, Taro. They're not going to back down easily." Taro nodded, his expression serious. "Agreed. We've reinforced the critical points, but we need to be proactive. I've already dispatched patrols to monitor the vulnerable areas." Lila approached with a new set of data. "Mira, we've decrypted another message. It seems they're planning a major offensive targeting the core infrastructure of Deep Current." Myra's eyes narrowed. "We can't let that happen. Deep Current is the lifeblood of Aquatopia's energy supply. If they succeed, the city will be crippled." Taro stepped forward. "We need to prepare for an all-out assault. We'll mobilize every resource we have to defend Deep Current." Myra's resolve hardened. "Let's gather the team and make our plans. We'll stop them once and for all." The team assembled in the operations room, the tension thick in the air. Mira outlined the plan, her voice steady and clear. "We'll divide into 2 groups. Taro, you'll lead the defense at the main power station. Lila and I will take a team to the secondary control center. We need to be prepared for anything." As they geared up, Mira felt a surge of determination. This was their chance to protect Aquatopia and secure its future. The corridors of the city buzzed with activity as they moved to their positions, every step bringing them closer to the impending conflict. At the main power station, Taro's team set up defensive positions. The hum of machinery and the glow of the bioluminescent algae provided an eerie backdrop to their preparations. Taro's voice cut through the air, issuing commands with precision. "Remember, we're here to protect the core. Hold your positions and stay alert." Meanwhile, Mira and Lila led their team to the secondary control center. The atmosphere was tense, every sound magnified by the anticipation of the battle ahead. As they approached the control center, the first signs of trouble appeared. A series of small explosions rocked the facility, sending debris flying. "Here we go," Mira thought, her heart pounding. "Stay sharp, everyone," she called out. "We need to secure the control room." The team moved swiftly, engaging the saboteurs who had already infiltrated the facility. The corridors erupted into chaos, the sound of gunfire and shouts echoing through the halls. Mira fired her stun gun with precision, each shot finding its mark. Lila worked alongside her, her focus unbreakable. As they fought their way through, Mira's thoughts raced. We have to stop them before they reach the control room. If they disable the systems, we're done. They reached the control room, only to find it under heavy attack. Saboteurs were everywhere, their intent clear. Hold the line! Mira shouted, leading the charge. The battle was fierce, the saboteurs fighting with a desperation born of fanaticism. Mira spotted the leader of the saboteurs, directing the assault with ruthless efficiency. We need to take him out, she thought, making her way towards him. The leader saw her coming and opened fire, but Mira was faster. She dodged the shots, closing the distance between them. With a swift move, she tackled the leader to the ground, their weapons clattering away. They struggled, each trying to gain the upper hand. Mira's training and determination gave her the edge. With a final, powerful strike, she subdued the leader, securing him with restraints. The remaining saboteurs, seeing their leader captured, began to falter. Lila and the team pressed the advantage, driving them back and securing the control room. The battle was over, but the aftermath was clear. Deep Current was safe, and Aquatopia had held its ground. Mira stood over the captured leader, her breath coming in heavy gasps. It's over, she said, her voice filled with relief. You've lost. The leader glared at her, defiance in his eyes. This isn't the end. Others will rise to take our place. Mira's resolve hardened. We'll be ready for them. Aquatopia will stand strong, no matter what. Back at the central hub, the team was met with cheers and applause. They had faced a formidable enemy and emerged victorious. Mira felt a sense of pride and hope. They had protected their home and secured its future, but she knew they had to remain vigilant. As the team dispersed to rest and recover, Mira looked out at the bioluminescent beauty of Aquatopia. The city was safe, for now, but the fight for its future would continue. With her friends and allies by her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their ability to overcome any threat. The battle had been a turning point, a testament to their strength and resilience. Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to lead Aquatopia towards a future where technology and nature thrived in harmony. The path ahead was uncertain, but together, they would forge a bright and hopeful future for their beloved city. The victory at the control center brought a brief moment of respite to Aquatopia. The city's citizens, ever resilient, were starting to rebuild, but Mira knew the saboteurs' threat was not fully extinguished. There were whispers of deeper plots, and the captured leader's defiant words echoed in her mind. Others will rise to take our place. Mira stood in the central hub, eyes fixed on the holographic map. The team had gathered for a debriefing, the atmosphere tense with anticipation. We've intercepted more communications from the saboteurs, Taro began, his tone grim. They're planning something big, and it's happening soon. Lila stepped forward, her expression serious. We've traced the origin of these messages to a deep trench outside our usual patrol zones. It's a place we've never fully explored. Mira's gaze sharpened. Then that's where we need to go. We can't let them regroup and launch another attack. This ends now. Taro nodded. We'll need our best divers and equipment. This trench is uncharted territory. It's going to be dangerous. Mira's resolve hardened. We're ready. Let's move. The team assembled at the docking bay, the hum of the submersibles filling the air. As they descended into the depths, the familiar glow of Aquatopia faded, replaced by the inky blackness of the uncharted trench. The submersible's lights cut through the darkness, revealing strange, twisted formations and unfamiliar sea creatures. Mira's thoughts raced as they approached their destination. This place feels alive, she thought, her eyes scanning the shadows. We need to stay sharp. The sensors picked up a large structure nestled at the bottom of the trench. There it is, Taro said, pointing to the screen. The saboteurs' main base. They docked the submersible and prepared to enter the base. Mira led the way, her stun gun at the ready. The air was thick with tension as they moved through the narrow corridors. The base was eerily quiet, the only sound the hum of distant machinery. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by an explosion, the shockwave knocking them off their feet. "Ambush!" Mira shouted, her ears ringing. The saboteurs had been waiting for them. The corridor erupted into chaos as shots were fired from all directions. Mira rolled to cover, her mind racing. "We need to push forward," she thought, returning fire. "We can't let them pin us down." Taro signaled for a flanking maneuver, and the team moved with precision. Mira's shots were true, each one taking down an attacker. They fought their way through the base, the saboteurs' resistance fierce but faltering under their relentless assault. They reached a central chamber, the heart of the base. At its center was a massive console, surrounded by armed guards. Mira knew this was their control center. "Take out the guards," she ordered, charging forward. The battle was intense, the air thick with smoke and the sound of gunfire. Mira moved with purpose, her every action driven by the need to protect Aquatopia. She reached the console, her fingers flying over the keys as she began to shut down the base's systems. The guards redoubled their efforts, desperate to stop her. "Cover me!" Mira shouted, focusing on the task at hand. The console's screen lit up, revealing the saboteurs' entire network. "Got you," she thought, her lips curling into a determined smile. With a final command, the base's systems began to shut down. The lights flickered and the machinery ground to a halt. The remaining guards hesitated, their resolve crumbling. Taro and the team pressed the advantage, securing the chamber. Mira stood up, her breath coming in heavy gasps. The saboteurs' main base was neutralized, their operations crippled. She turned to Taro, relief flooding her voice. "We did it. This is the end of their threat." Taro placed a hand on her shoulder. "For now. But we need to stay vigilant. Aquatopia's safety depends on our readiness." Back at the central hub, the team was met with cheers and applause. They had faced a formidable enemy and emerged victorious once again. Mira felt a surge of pride and hope. They had protected their home and secured its future, but she knew they could not afford to rest on their laurels. As the team dispersed to rest and recover, Mira looked out at the bioluminescent beauty of Aquatopia. The city was safe, for now, but the fight for its future would continue. With her friends and allies by her side, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their ability to overcome any threat. The battle had been a turning point, a testament to their strength and resilience. Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to lead Aquatopia towards a future where technology and nature thrived in harmony. The path ahead was uncertain, but together, they would forge a bright and hopeful future for their beloved city. Did you spot the golden star in today's video? If you did, make sure to comment the time you saw it to be mentioned in our next video. Thank you for sharing a moment of your day with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps a lot. If you don't, well, I'll still love you. Thanks for stopping by.